The Tigers are still dancing, but some things must be cleaned up against Creighton.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're dapping it up with the Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend, and obviously we're looking ahead to tomorrow's matchup between the Auburn Tigers and, of course, Creighton. What is Creighton? What is the Creighton mascot?
Blue Jays.
Blue Jays. I almost said owls. I knew it was a bird. The Creighton Blue Jays. Obviously, what they did against Louisville was impressive. I watched that entire game saying, like, man, this team's explosive. And it just didn't stop. And anytime Louisville kind of had a counterpunch, Creighton was like, no. Everything you can do, we can do better. And it's kind of the team that you don't really want to play in March. A team that's scrappy, a team that wants it, and a team that can light you up from deep. With all that being said, though, I think the things that Louisville could not do to Creighton, I think Auburn will be able to do. And a lot of that has to do with perimeter defense. To me, the difference in this game will be Denver Jones, Miles Kelly, and Chad Baker-Mazara.
The key word for me in this game is sustainability. Can Creighton sustain what they did against Louisville? Because every big shot that had to be made, when Louisville got it to within 10 or 11, Creighton would come down and that one little guard would hit a three, or number 4 would hit a turnaround jumper in the lane and he never missed. They hit shot after shot after shot. Is that sustainable? Is that realistic? Are you able to do that against a quality SEC opponent instead of a watered down ACC representative? Auburn defends a lot better than Louisville. They have hands in passing lanes, hands in shooting lanes. They run out at you when you're shooting threes. Louisville did not do that. So I don't know if Louisville can have the same kind of success shooting, making big shot after big shot with the way Auburn defends, especially when you look at size matchups. Like big guards will give Creighton trouble on the perimeter. They're very good on the perimeter, but if you extend and you're 6'5" and you're extending on a 5'11" dude, there's a mismatch there. So Auburn needs to take advantage of that.
I think so. And some of this, you and I talked about this at the tail end of our live reaction show yesterday. If you want to hear more about Auburn versus Alabama State, be sure to check out our live show. It's on this channel if you're watching on YouTube. And of course on audio, it's the previous show on your audio feed. But I think some of this, and I don't want to take any respect away from Creighton. You and I both picked Creighton to win this game, despite Auburn folks being very concerned that playing in Lexington was so close to Louisville. To me, I think something that hasn't really been discussed, at least from the time of this, is like, I don't think Louisville's that good. Like this whole assumption of like Louisville being a top 12 team in the AP poll or whatever. Like I've watched them several times and like, I just didn't think they were that good. Louisville shot the ball against Creighton 14 more times and they still got waxed. I don't think Louisville's a good team. And so I just think when you talk about that volume that Creighton gave up against Louisville, if Auburn has that many more shots than Creighton, I think there's a lot of things that point Auburn's direction, and that's one of the many.
That's a good advantage too for Auburn. I'm glad you brought that point up because Auburn got killed on second chance points a lot during that time when they struggled late in the season. They did not do that against Alabama State, and Creighton did not get a lot of offensive. They're not a good offensive rebounding team. They live and die with the first shot they put up. If they're hitting that shot, they're rolling. If they're not hitting that shot and they're shooting less than 40%, they get in trouble. So it's key for Auburn to make sure it's one and done. Get the rebound and let's go. Let's go in transition. And the other thing to me, and we talked about this a little bit in the live, but I think Auburn's bench is going to be key tomorrow because Creighton's top 3 players played like almost the whole game.
Let me read the minutes.
It was upwards. Yeah.
Let me read the minutes played by their starters. Stephen Ashworth, we're going to hear his name a ton, played 40 minutes. Didn't leave.
Didn't come out.
You don't see that very often.
You don't think he's going to feel that Saturday? Oh, by the way, go ahead.
Against a much larger and more athletic guard in Denver Jones.
Yeah, he's going to feel. I'm just saying
see.
he's going to feel playing 40 minutes tomorrow when he goes to the cafeteria or a restaurant in Lexington to eat. That's a lot of. I don't care what kind of shape you're in, what kind of college athlete you are. 40 minutes is a lot of minutes. He could be dead-legged Saturday.
He's been a college athlete for a minute too. He's not he's not a young guy. But that's okay. Other guys played less minutes, like Jimmy Neal. He only played 39 minutes. There's only a minute of action where he wasn't in. Or Ryan Kalkbrenner, who played 38 minutes. That's insane. So your main three guys played 38, 39, and 40 minutes. But then the other, Jackson McAndrew, who was responsible for 11 of their points, played 31 minutes.
That's a lot of minutes. That's our high, right? I mean, yeah.
And so something you mentioned when we were talking about this game was, all right, if I'm the Creighton Blue Jays and I'm looking at Janai and Chaney, it's like, I'm going to make them shoot free throws. But you can't. You can't just do the whole hack-a-shack thing. You can't just forcibly foul because you're so reliant on these guys. I think that's a problem for Creighton against a team like Auburn.
I think it's a problem. Not only that, I think it's a problem because obviously what happens when you start to get tired and your legs start to go, you start to foul, you start to reach, you start to get lazy. You can't move your feet on defense. Auburn will take advantage of that. Auburn will also take advantage of being able to bring Pettiford and Chaney Johnson off the bench, fresh. Auburn will go 8 or 9 deep on you Saturday, and you've got guys, 4 of your 5 starters are playing 31 minutes or more, and Auburn may have 2. Maybe 2 starters play 31 minutes or more.
So I think it's a major part of this. I think it's a major part of this. Auburn should dominate on the bench, and then we'll see what happens when it comes to rebounding. Because your point about rebounding is spot on. We've seen Auburn dominate the boards against teams that they don't get pushed around by. And I don't think Creighton has the size to do that to Janai, to Chaney, to Dylan. And so just from a matchup standpoint, I'm not saying Creighton can't get hot. I'm not saying Creighton's a bad basketball team, but just from a matchup standpoint and style and overall size and physicality, I think a lot of things point Auburn's direction here.
Well, realistically, because I don't want to look like I'm being a homer, if Auburn plays in spurts like they did against Alabama State, where they look disinterested, they look sloppy, they no attention to detail, if they do that and Creighton gets hot, Auburn goes home Saturday. I'm sorry. I mean, if Creighton shoots 50% from 3 and is the more, focused and if they are imposing their style of basketball on Auburn rather than the other way around, like if Auburn looks at Creighton and says, well, they live and die by the 3, we don't have to. We're going to pound it inside. We're going to use our advantage. Do not get in a rock throwing contest with Creighton and feel like you got to match them 3 for 3. Do not. You can shoot a lot of threes if you're Auburn, if they're open, but your advantage on Creighton is inside. Utilize it.
Well, I think having a plan and having, something in mind of how you're going to attack Creighton is crucial. And that might be the largest difference between the potential game plan of Creighton versus what we saw against Alabama State. Let's jump into that in just a moment. Right here on Locked on Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Darrell, we're all about the stats because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the whole team, plus the gear wherever you need to go. And Darrell, you know about that twin-turbo V6 engine. Does that sound a little powerful to you?
It gets after
it. It gets after it. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada Pro 4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. Darrell, if you could equate a basketball moment into a equivalent of a small bottle of 5 Hour Energy, are you saying a Janai Broom dunk? Are you saying a Miles Kelly 3? What are you saying the equivalent is when you take a 5 Hour Energy shot?
the Tahad Pettiford bank shot, potential 4-point play yesterday.
Oh my goodness. It was earlier game than normal. So like the bank was open.
Bank was open.
That was beautiful.
Just like the top is open on 5 Hour Energy when you swing it.
Oh, let's go. Head to 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango. They've got a ton. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. It's all right there. And of course, if you need one now, you can go to 5 Hour Energy. You can get one at your local grocery store or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up. Make sure you're ready for March. 5 Hour Energy. Let's get it. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. According to our friends at FanDuel, as we record this, shortly after the Auburn game ended, Auburn a 9.5 point favorite. A 9.5 point favorite. Will that line move? Possibly. It might. To me, I think the biggest thing I'm going to look at in the first few minutes of the game is what's the plan here? Because it seemed pretty obvious. It seemed pretty clear that when Auburn attacked the basket, the size difference was a problem against Alabama State. And it didn't seem like we really wanted to take advantage of it, especially in the first half. Janai Broom shooting 4 threes in the first half is ridiculous. Like, that is insane to me. If he makes one and makes it, I'm okay with heat checks. If he starts 2 for 2, I'm okay with it. You can't miss all of them. You can't do it. And so my thing is like, if I'm Bruce Pearl, it's like, yeah, guys, I give you the green light, but like, let's be smart. Let's be smart here. Like, what are we trying to do? And against a team like Creighton, where Auburn is bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic, that's not what we need to do unless you're Miles Kelly or Denver Jones or Tahad Pettiford.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Absolutely. I mean, if Broom, after you miss your first 2, if you're Broom, you stop shooting it. One of the things that Alabama State did that I don't think Creighton will do, which will be beneficial for Auburn, Alabama State's guards, to me, got downhill real easy on Auburn. Got to the rack a lot, Zach.
Sure. With
layups. They missed some. And, of course, they missed some free throws in the first half, too, which would have been a different story. But Alabama State got to the rim and got downhill on Auburn easier than I ever expected. Creighton doesn't have those kind of guards. They're content shooting it from 3. They're content shooting that elbow turnaround jumper. So that's one thing Auburn can adjust and maybe come out. If you run out at 3-point shooters and disrupt them, it's a whole different deal, Zach, and you don't have to worry about them going by you, okay? You did with Alabama State. They did a good job putting on the floor. So that's one thing Auburn defensively will be working on today. I'm sure Burgo will be really scouting that and going, okay, run out at 4 at the top of the key. Run out at the perimeter shooters, and that'll help. From an offensive standpoint, and when you're talking about the heat check things and the threes, you're okay if you get a 3 off of ball movement and it's an open look. What you're not okay is the separation 3 that you take by trying to just dribble the ball and get separation that way 5 seconds into the shot clock. Mm-hmm. That's not what – when you do that, it gets you beat. When you whip the ball around the floor, you get it into Janai and run the offense through Janai, and he does that skip pass, which they did a couple times. Then, okay, I'm okay with taking that 3. That's good. That's okay. Even a 3 in transition, if you have numbers and you have someone going to the boards. But when they force it and it's early in the shot clock, it's a recipe for disaster.
It seemed to work earlier in the season when guys were hot. And like, if Miles wants to shoot a 3, he has earned the right. He can shoot whatever he wants. He has earned that right, especially in that building.
But he doesn't take bad threes. If you ever noticed the right. Miles Kelly threes, even when he hit the side of the basket on that 1 3, he's wide open and has separation when he shoots threes. He takes good shots.
Yeah, Janai does not take good threes. Chad Baker-Mazar does not take good threes. Tahad does not take good threes. Denver usually does, I would say.
Denver and Miles shoot threes the way you're supposed to, off of ball rotation, and they're open. They're not forced. They're not step-back threes. Right. Everyone loves the step-back threes. Oh, they're so beautiful. They are the lowest percentage 3 you can take.
But they look so cool when you make it.
They look cool.
So cool, but don't do them.
But the law of averages says don't do them.
Don't do them. Don't do them. So yeah, to me, like, Miles Kelly is going to be such a big part of this. Chad Baker-Mazar is going to be such a big part of this defensively. You know, offensively, like we've seen inconsistencies, and that's what we're spending most of the time on. Defensively, I just think the matchup favors Auburn because of the size and because of the athleticism. But I'm going to tell you, like, Creighton shot 45.8% from three against Louisville, 11 of 24. If they do that against Auburn, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
And that's why, first of all, do they shoot 24 threes against Auburn? The answer will be yes. That's their style of play. They're not going to get away from it.
I think they have to.
They have to. If you're Auburn and you can limit them to making maybe 7 of 24 or 25, and then you go to the free throw line and make maybe 7, 8 more free throws than them, and you outscore them from a bench perspective, even +7, +8, you win this game comfortably. Win this game comfortably. That's the three checklist, the three things that I would look at and say keys to victory.
Mm-hmm.
Keep Creighton under 40% from three, outscore their bench by at least 8.
40%? That's pretty high.
Under 40%.
I know, but like 38, 39, like that's a good game from three.
I think they're going to take so many threes that you're going to be okay. Because of the quantity, if they shoot 20 threes and shoot 40%, it's going to be difficult. If they shoot 26 and only hit 7 or 8, I like Auburn's chances with that, because that's all they'll get offensively. They're not going to get anything, I think, in the paint, so you can live with that. I don't think they're going to get to the line more than Auburn and have, like Tennessee did, 11 more free throws made. I don't think you're going to see that happen. So those combinations and Auburn's bench outscoring Creighton's bench because they play 4 guys 31 minutes or more, I think will be the keys to victory.
Yeah. Creighton turns it over on average 12.3 times a game. So I'm kind of wondering, like, against some more athletic defense, like, what does that look like?
If you get that up to 15, 16, 17 turnovers and you get 15, 16 points off of turnovers, which is a good ratio when you get that many turnovers, you score half the time. Man, that's bonus points. Those are points that really, really help you in the second half.
Which isn't like, this isn't shocking to say, but like, if Creighton plays their best and Auburn plays their best, Auburn wins by a lot.
Absolutely.
It's just, I think what we saw Saturday was Creighton's best and almost Auburn's worst. So, or yesterday, not Saturday. But that's what we saw yesterday.
Yeah.
And so how does that translate to Saturday? Like, that's the question, is like, what versions of this team do we see? Can we see Creighton's best 2 games in a row? Will we see Auburn's worst 2 games in a row? We've seen Auburn's worst for a few games in a row already. Like, does that help you? Does that hurt you? Like, when is Auburn going to snap out of it? Because, like, the lack of motivation was fascinating to me. It's like, how are we at this point? It's the postseason. It's the postseason.
Yeah.
I don't care that they're a 16 seed. Like, everybody's doubting you, and this is why. This is why they're doubting you. And I'm just wondering, at what point are they going to wake up, if they are?
Creighton is a team to me that would be similar to maybe a little like a Mississippi State in the SEC or something. So if Auburn comes out and plays well on a neutral floor, and they haven't played
talent, like as far as like how good they are, you're not comparing them.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
So if Auburn comes out and play, we really haven't seen Auburn play well, in my opinion, since Rupp, since the game at Kentucky.
Okay.
The law of averages says it's coming. It's coming. A team that's that good, that talented, that deep, that experienced, it's coming. Will it come tomorrow against a Creighton team that played probably as good as it could Thursday? And can Creighton put back-to-back games like that together? I think it's going to be tough. All
right, let's make some predictions. Who wins, who steps up, all that good stuff. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right. So when you look at this Auburn matchup with Creighton, we all agree Auburn's the better team. Auburn's more physically gifted. Auburn's more athletic, more talented, whatever. But it's March. It's March, and you got to want it. You got to want it. And I just based on what we've seen, Creighton's going to want it more on Saturday. And so I think Auburn's going to have to figure out a way to get glimpses of who they were earlier this year. You and I did a show, I think it was Wednesday, where we're like, hey, the big thing Auburn needs to do if they want to make a run is remember who they used to be at the start of the season. And all this pressure has worn them down. And we didn't really see it. We didn't really see that yesterday. So do we see a cleaner, more fresh Auburn? I don't know. But regardless of what version we see, I do think Auburn wins this basketball game, Darrell.
Auburn does not have to play the perfect game and play at almost peak level to win this game. In my opinion, Creighton does. So there's your difference right there. That's the first
I
thing.
agree with that. Sure.
Secondly, Auburn has a lot more depth. Yes, they have a lot more pressure. They have a lot more on the line. Creighton can play a little bit freer and looser. They're playing with house money. But, Auburn's got a bench that can make up for listen, when people get tired physically by playing that many minutes, emotionally, it starts to take a toll too. You miss free throws, you make stupid passes. I think Auburn can take advantage of that. And again, I like Chaney Johnson and Tahad Pettiford to play big roles in this game that will help Auburn win this game. I think they're going to have a big part to play in this.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you look at every matchup, and it's like, I love the size of Auburn's guards versus what Creighton has. And I love the size around the basket and the post moves and just the overall presence and impact on a basketball game that Auburn has. It comes down to, can Auburn not beat themselves, and can Creighton shoot like a normal basketball team? Can they just do any worse than what they did against Louisville from shooting the three? And one, I think just naturally, it's hard to shoot over 40% at all, let alone in multiple games in a row. And two, it's hard to do that against Denver Jones. And to me, we talked about this when Auburn lost the Texas A&M game. It's like, Wade Taylor was great, but would he have been great with Denver on him? I don't think so. He might have been fine.
Right.
He might have been solid, but I don't think Creighton can win with fine or solid. And so when you look at, Neal, who scored 29, and Ashworth, who scored 22, that doesn't happen if Denver's guarding you. And I think you need those guys to score in the 20s to beat Auburn on Saturday.
They better. They absolutely better. I don't know if anyone else can step up in place of. But remember, Janai Broome didn't have a Janai Broome type game either. And what happens if he goes off Saturday and has a typical 22-14 type game? You do that inside. Chaney eats inside. The other players start to do what they normally do. Look, I think something you mentioned earlier in the show, it can't be undervalued, and that is if Auburn, if Creighton averages 12 turnovers a game, if Auburn can get them to turn it over 15, 16, 17 times, which translates to possessions, it also translates to transitional baskets, which are easier for Auburn. That's a big thing too, a big thing.
Yeah, I agree
to keep an eye on. So
I agree with that. All right, let us know who you guys are picking in this game. I got a feeling it's going to be heavy for the good guys, but we'll see. Darrell, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Follow me on X, Dap6410, Instagram, Darrell Dapp. By the way, my prediction, Auburn 76, Creighton 68.
I'll go Auburn 80, Creighton 70.
Good. I like it.
There we go. Quick programming note, just bear with us over the next few days. As this is dropping on YouTube, there might be an extra Blackerby in the world. So,
dropping as well.
That's right. Yo, new Locked on Auburn dropped. New Blackerby dropped as well. So we'll have shows up. It might be Lindsay or Darrell or Kyle or somebody doing them. Ben, we'll see. But there will be a reaction to the game Saturday, and we'll also have a show up for you Monday as well. So don't worry about that. But thank you for your patience and prayers if you're so willing. So we'll see you next time. This has been Locked on Auburn.